Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing, checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? Hope y'all are doing well, man. Hope y'all had a fantastic weekend. It was a dope weekend of boxing. Over this past weekend, we had Tszyu defeat Tony Harrison, in which was pretty much an eliminator fight to put them number one in line to fight Jermell Charlo, the current undisputed champion at 154, a guy who I have rated number one pound for pound at the moment. Which was a huge deal, man. It was a huge fight for both Tszyu and Tony Harrison for many reasons. Of course, you get next in line, you're about to fight Jermell Charlo. We know Tony Harrison had already had 2 fights with Jermell. First fight was a controversial decision in Tony Harrison's favor. The second fight, Jermell Charlo stopped Tony Harrison in spectacular fashion, very similar to how Tszyu stopped him. Jermell Charlo, it was like 3 or 4 consecutive left uppercuts. For Tszyu, it was 3 or 4 consecutive right uppercuts on the ropes, of course, right, in Tony Harrison fashion. So first and foremost, I want to give kudos to Tszyu, like I did in my immediate post-fight reaction. Tszyu went out there and did exactly what he was supposed to do. I was wrong on my prediction for this fight, and now keep in mind that, you know, Tszyu, everything that I said Tszyu needed to do to win, he did. Actually, he didn't even up the punch rate like I said he needed to, because I expected Tony Harrison to have more output. I expected Tony Harrison to not only pop the jab consistently, which he was only like throwing 3 jabs around with, and that was the only punch he was throwing. He maybe threw 1 right hand every 3 rounds. You dig what I'm saying? Like, Tony Harrison's punch output was abysmal, and his lateral movement was terrible. Jermell Charlo called that out after the second round, because I gave Tony Harrison the first round, and then I gave Tszyu the second, third, fourth, fifth round, and then I believe I gave Tony the 6th, and then after that, I didn't give Tony Harrison no more rounds. You know what I'm saying? And Jermell Charlo, who was a guest commentator, he called that out. He said, Tony Harrison, his issue right now is lack of lateral movement. He just wasn't moving. Now, the ring was smaller, but you can't really use that as no type of, of course, that favors Tszyu, the guy who's coming forward, walking you down, trying to corner you and cut the ring off. That always favors the aggressive fighter who's coming forward to try to pin you in a position so they can get their shots off. But Tszyu wasn't really like having a high punch output. He was just waiting until, you know, he was conserving his energy, slowly but surely throwing, right hands, touching Tony Harrison every now and then until the midway point of the fight, and then up until the 9th round when he got the stoppage. That's when he really started to unload multiple right hands consecutively. That's when he started to, throw the jab straight right. That's when he really started to open up his arsenal. But it's just crazy how Tony Harrison had room to move, but he didn't use his legs. He literally was just voluntarily being stationary. But again, he's older now. He done been through a lot of wars, done been stopped multiple times, and maybe he's more focused on training Alicia Baumgardner now. Everybody's looking at him like he's a shot fighter now. I don't want to take no credit away from Tszyu, because he won that fight. He did what he was supposed to do, and I want to credit him that. But that's why I picked Tony Harrison. But based off of the skill set, based off of stylistically, I saw the issues that Tszyu had with Terrell Gausha coming forward, but not throwing the jab consistently, not going to the body with the jab, using good lateral movement to cut the ring off, but not really following up with it, though, just waiting too much. He did that same shit with Tony Harrison that I said he don't need to be doing, but the thing was, Tony Harrison wasn't fucking throwing punches. So when you got a motherfucker right there in front of you, sitting right there, and they not throwing, it's like they serving themselves to you on a silver platter. So again, kudos to Tszyu. But the question is, as you see in the title, is Tszyu really a threat to Jermell Charlo? Of course he's a threat at from a basic level, with him being an undefeated fighter, him being #1 in the WBO, him being a world-class fighter, yes, he's a threat. Anything can happen on any given night in boxing. But is he a legitimate threat? Is he somebody that if you're Jermell Charlo, you should be worried about? Of course you take him serious, and Jermell Charlo takes every opponent serious. Y'all know what that man do when he get in the ring, right? But is he like a legitimate threat? Is he more of a threat than Brian Castano was? Is he more of a threat than Sebastian Fundora is? Is he a real threat? Like somebody that you like, I don't know if Jermell Charlo can beat this guy. The answer to that question for me would be absolutely not. I just think Jermell Charlo is one of the most complete fighters in boxing. When he puts it all together the way that he did in that rematch with Brian Castano, I mean, he literally showed you everything. He showed you the jab. He showed you the straight right. He showed you the 1-2. He showed you the left hook, which is that's probably his best punch. One of the best left hooks in boxing. He showed you the uppercuts. He showed you the body work. He showed you lateral foot movement. He showed you ring generalship, angles, athleticism, boxing and ring IQ. He showed you a chin, the ability to absorb punches, and punch resistance is elite. Jermell Charlo really does it all, and his power is crushing. I mean, it debilitates guys. It literally folds opponents. You feel what I'm saying? I mean, that the way he stopped Jason Rosario with a jab to the body, I'd never seen nothing like it. The way he had a aggressive Brian Castano with momentum coming forward, and he hit him with a left hook, and then I think he hit him with a right hook to the body, then brought a left hook up top, or it was a left hook first, and then came back down to the body, but it just made him crumble and melt. Like, Jermell Charlo is a different type of animal, and he done seen it all. He done been in the ring with every style. He done been in the ring with literally every type of fighter you can think of. I mean, the only outlier in that division that I think would present something that Jermell Charlo has never seen before is Sebastian Fundora, because he's fucking 6'6". You know what I'm saying? That would be the only thing that I could think of that could present something to Jermell that he hasn't necessarily seen. But even I think Jermell Charlo beats Sebastian Fundora. I think that Jermell Charlo will dominate Tszyu. I think he stops Tszyu in incredible fashion. But we're going to do an in-depth breakdown, but I just wanted to kind of give y'all my thoughts on whether or not I think Tszyu is a real threat to Jermell Charlo. I don't. I just think Jermell Charlo is a vastly more skilled fighter. I think Tszyu is really going to have a lot of issues with his lack of punch output. Jermell Charlo is one of those guys, if you see that he had a little bit of an issue with Brian Castano, first in that first fight, he was offering himself on the ropes, which for the life of me, I didn't understand. I think there was some other shit going on, but he has the best coach in boxing. And when you listen to a guy like Derrick James, when you're coachable and you allow him to give you the keys to victory, and you actually go into the ring with an open mind of executing that, you're gonna be successful, bro. It's gonna take a fucking monster on that other side who also has a great coach to derail you, bro. That's just how the shit gonna go. And for Tszyu, with his lack of punch output, if you allow Jermell Charlo time to think, if you allow him time to move how he want to move and control the pace of the fight, be the ring general, dictate where the fight is going to take place, dictate when it's going to be lows, dictate when it's going to be action. If you give Jermell Charlo that amount of power, it's not going to end good for you, bro. Tszyu is going to get caught with so many big shots. He going to get set up for traps. It's going to be bad for him. It's going to be bad for him. I think for Tszyu to beat Jermell Charlo, he going to have to double his punch output in the early part of the fight. Because Jermell Charlo gets stronger late in the fight. He's strong. He carry power all the way through the fight. So if you gon' like, Tszyu gonna have to up his punch output early on, because what's gonna happen if he don't get knocked out in the first 6 rounds, which is very likely that he will get knocked out in the first 6 rounds. If that don't happen, he gonna find himself down on the cards, having to take unnecessary risks later on in the fight, and he gonna get hurt bad. He gonna get caught with some mean via a trap set by Jermell Charlo. I just think Jermell Charlo is just too much for Tszyu. But Tszyu is a formidable opponent, and I don't want to take nothing away from Jermell Charlo by saying that, oh, Tszyu don't have no chance, because he do have a chance. And I want Jermell Charlo to get all the credit in the world for beating Tszyu once that fight does take place. So that's my thoughts. Those are my initial thoughts on a Tszyu and Jermell Charlo fight. So y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Do y'all think Tszyu is a legitimate, like a real threat to Jermell Charlo? And if so, break it down for me. Let me know what Tszyu does well that could be a detriment to Jermell Charlo, and vice versa. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Contender regime boxing. I'll holla at y'all boys, man.